Welcome, listeners. You are tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everyone.
And we are broadcasting on CIVL across the Fraser Valley. And that's on 101.7 FM.
And we're doing this from the unceded territories of the Stolo Nation.
That's correct. And we're also live streaming on our Facebook group, which is called Awaken Your Psychic Abilities, and also on my Dr. Leslie Phillips YouTube channel. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And our goal on the show is to bring all sorts of different topics to educate you and inspire you under the general umbrella of everything to do with intuition, metaphysics, and spirituality. And today is no exception to that.
Oh boy.
Yes, and I'm in the shows at the moment. I'm celebrating because I've got a book coming out, and my book is called Intuition and Chakras, and it's being published by Llewellyn on the 8th of April.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I thought it would be really cool for the next few weeks until then, every week to cover a different chapter in my book. And I put it out there to the Facebook group today to let them choose. And we got a couple of things that people wanted to know about. And I'm going to weave them into the next chapter in my book, which is called Your Life Purpose. So the book's Intuition and Chakras. And one of the chapters is about your life purpose and how that relates to intuition and chakras. So we're going to talk about that, waking up to your life purpose. And I'll just mention, though, that there is a pre-order bonus available for the book. So when people order the book before the launch date, which is the 8th of April, they get some extra stuff that to thank them for ordering the book.
Or swag, as Dr. Leslie loves to say.
Well, as my publisher likes to call it, swag. All right, so let's talk about life purpose.
Okay.
And this was inspired, by the way, by one of our Facebook group members called Jill. And she wanted me to explain the significance of mirror numbers. And so I'm going to do that, but I'm going to weave it into the larger context of life purpose. And so from my perspective, in a way, there's more than one life purpose that we all have. And I'm going to talk about the three main types of life purpose in a moment. But, you know, it's interesting, listeners, because I used to go out and about a lot teaching live workshops. And I used to enjoy asking people who believes they have a life purpose. And everyone in the room used to put their hand up. And then I'd say, who knows what their life purpose is? And everyone in the room would put their hand down. So, and it's quite a big thing for people. And I know because on this show for about a year and a half, we had tons of people writing questions into us by email. And the most popular question was, why am I here? And so it's amazing that so many of us believe we've got a life purpose, and so few of us actually know what the life purpose is. So let's talk about life purpose. And of course, your intuition is the key to unlocking your life purpose, because that's what helps you communicate with your higher self and your higher guidance and get clear about yourself, who you are and why you're here. So here's my 3 categories of life purpose. And the first one is the common purpose of all humanity. The common purpose of all humanity is to awaken. The old-fashioned word for that is to become enlightened. But we've got all sorts of perfect expectations about what it means to be enlightened. And so maybe a better word right now is to say awaken. But it's a common purpose of all humanity to become awakened, to learn how to be conscious, awake, and aware within the physical body. So here we are on this planet in our physical bodies, but we are not our physical bodies, we are spirit. But most of us are operating from the body consciousness, and we've forgotten that we're spirit. And so all of the great teachers that have ever walked this earth, through the way they've lived their lives, have shown us how to become enlightened, how to awaken within the physical system and become a conscious creator. A conscious creator able to steer the direction of the life consciously and make conscious choices and actually start to be able to master the energy of physical reality. So life purpose number one that we all share is to awaken. Now, like I said, what I mean by that is becoming awake and aware within the physical body. You are light, you are consciousness, your body is matter. To be enlightened is to lighten the physical system with the light of you, the spiritual being. To be enlightened is also to cleanse and clear the energy system of lower vibration energies so that you lighten up, so that you raise your frequency. And as you raise your frequency, then there's less of a energy gap between your higher consciousness and the consciousness you experience in the physical body. And it therefore becomes easier for you to connect with your intuitive guidance, and therefore more likely that you will be able to tap into your purpose. So life purpose number one, become enlightened, become awakened. Life purpose number two, and I think this is what most people mean when they ask, what is my life purpose? What they're really saying is, what's unique about me? What is my unique gift, my unique offering to the world? So what's my unique contribution? And of course, every single one of us has this. We are all unique. We are all aspects of source energy. We're all aspects of, some of us call it God. Some people have different names for it. But we're all unique aspects of the divine, which means each of us has a unique energy frequency and a unique perspective on reality. Not one single one of us is the same as any other. So we're all unique. And in one sense, the unique contribution that we have to make is by being ourselves. Because when we are ourselves, we are the unique vibration. We are the unique frequency, the unique aspect of the divine. But beyond that, because we all have unique perspectives, then we can offer those perspectives and share them with other people. And so, and how does your intuition help you with that? Your intuition helps you to get clear about who you are. And in developing your intuition, you get to learn about your unique profile of qualities, which includes your unique profile of intuitive abilities, which are geared to support you in your life purpose. So that's life purpose aspect number two, your unique contribution. But the third one I would say is there's purpose in every single moment that we're alive. There's purpose in absolutely everything that we experience. Even if you're experiencing something that doesn't feel great to you, it is imbued with purpose because you can learn from it. And really the purpose of the soul is expansion, the eternal pursuit of expansion through experience, through living out life and making choices and having the choices that one has made mirrored back at one through the time space reality as the results of the energy that you put out. And so whether we are having what we might think of as a negative or positive experience, it's all grist for the mill, it's all fuel for the expansion of the soul. But it is through the intuition and developing the intuition that you can start to make conscious choices and start to consciously create your reality and consciously dissolve and let go of what's causing the more unpleasant experiences and consciously direct the more positive experiences. All right, so life purpose, 3 of them at least. Enlightenment, become an awakened human, your unique gift, your unique offering, what's unique about you, and the purpose that exists in every single moment. Now,
That's quite a variety.
yeah, we have purpose imbued in everything that we are, in every experience that we have. And like I said, you know, where intuition comes into it is that's your spiritual communication system, and your intuition can help you find and follow your higher guidance and understand your purpose. And my book's called Intuition and Chakras because the intuition is channeled through the chakra system. And we're definitely going to have some shows coming up where we talk about that in more detail. But I wanted to focus on this idea of awakening as the common purpose of humanity, because I wanted to connect the dots between the question I was asked on the Facebook group and this subject that I've written about within my book, which is life purpose. So Jill asked, could I cover the significance of mirror numbers? She said, whenever I check the time, it's nearly always a mirror number, and it happens so much to me. I thank the universe and accept something is changing, but I am not sure what it means. And we've talked on the show before about repeating numbers, because it's very common for people to see strings of numbers like 1111 or 2222 or 3333. Never talked about mirror numbers before. And the difference between repeating numbers and mirror numbers is that a mirror number is, you know, you look at the clock and it's 0101 or 0202, or the date is 0202 2020 or something like that. So all of these things, and I might just go into trance and just have a quick look if there's any more information we want to say about this, but all of these things are, I call them awakening codes, and they are little signals embedded in our reality that either we've planted there or our guides have planted there, right? So it can be both of those things. That it's like a little stimulus, a little triggering event that makes you do a double take, makes you become conscious in the moment that you notice that, and kind of triggers you into the growth around waking up. And there are some other things that do this as well. Lots of people see orbs and light codes, downloads of information through light. And so our planet right now is in this amazing energy shift. So we're shifting from the old way that we've been into a new way of being. We're shifting from an unconscious species into a conscious species. And we are experiencing energies and vibrations that we've never experienced before on this planet. But they've been through it on other planets. And so we have an enormous amount of help and assistance from galactic beings, from our spirit guides, from our angels, to help us through the extreme polarity that we're experiencing while we go through this awakening, but also to stimulate us to activate and open up inner dimensions within ourselves that we haven't done on Earth before. So all of these things, repeating numbers, mirror numbers, light codes, other types of energies, are awakening codes embedded by your higher consciousness or embedded by your angels and guides into this reality to move you into a higher level of consciousness. Okay? To move you from a more three-dimensional, linear, physical body focus into a more multi-dimensional spiritual consciousness. Now, there are other things as well on our planet that are happening. So I might go a bit out there right now, but there are energy repositories, like energy reservoirs stored around the planetary grid that contain information to assist us with this awakening as well. Because the history of humans is that we were seeded by star beings from other galaxies. And we were kind of like this giant experiment of being unconscious and having free will and duality, and the opportunity through the experiencing of our free will and duality to wake up into consciousness, which we are doing now. So there are information reservoirs stored around the planetary grid that were only ever meant to start opening up at the point at which we started awakening. And that is happening now. And there are different ones. A lot of the things we think of around the planet as really spiritual places are energy repositories like this. Places like Machu Picchu or Uluru or Ayers Rock in Australia, Mount Shasta, Glastonbury.
What was the one you said before that? That's one I've never heard of. The second one.
Uluru is the Aboriginal name for Ayers Rock, which they've changed the name to. So it's, as I said, Ayers Rock as well, because some people might not have heard. I think they've been calling it that for a long time, though.
And Dr. Leslie, we need to take a break.
Oh, we do? Gosh. All right. Well, folks, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we are talking about life purpose, and we're talking about awakening as the mass purpose of humanity. And now we're starting to get into some of the things that are happening in the process of our awakening. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
It's me.
We're broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley, and we're also live streaming on Facebook, on our Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, and on YouTube. So you can catch us in all of those places, and every single episode is available on drlesliephillips.com as a podcast, and also all of the popular podcasting platforms.
So, Dr. Leslie, we do have a question.
Oh, we do?
Yes, and from Curious George, and George says, what's it mean to raise the frequency?
Thank you. Good question. All right. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. Your physical body is energy. The emotions you emit are energy. Now, as we live and experience life, we go through different experiences of life. And as we go through different experiences of life, we change our frequency. And to some degree, this happens naturally. So I probably need to be have my energy set in a different way if I'm running a marathon than if I'm taking an exam or if I'm cooking a meal, for example. So that's one way that our frequency shifts. But also, we remember I said earlier, every single one of us has our own unique energy signature, which is the energy that we are, the unique aspect of God consciousness that we are. That we have put on these things called bodies and we experience life. And let's say I go through some trauma as a child. Unless I've got enlightened parents around me, some of that trauma is going to get stuffed into my body and it's going to lower the vibration because and if I have difficult, challenging experiences, if I feel afraid or I feel angry or somebody hates me and I hate them back, those emotions have a frequency. The lowest frequency on this planet is fear, pain, hate. They're all low vibration energies. And if you look at the human race, it doesn't take much to look around and say, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger. So we're many of us operating from these low vibrational states. Not only that, we've stored a ton of these low vibrational states within our bodies and within our energy fields. And so in order to awaken from that dystopia, from that illusion, we have to clean out the low vibration energy and we have to shift our vibration. And as we let go of the heavier, denser energies, change the behaviors and the beliefs that cause us to accumulate those, then naturally our vibration resets itself. When your physical body has a low vibration because it's physical matter, you, the spiritual consciousness, has a super high vibration because you're light, pure energy. And in order to be awakened and to be operating from the higher consciousness through the body, you need to reduce the vibrational gap, right? So raise the frequency within the body so that it is easier and safer for the high vibration of spirit to flow through the physical body. So I hope that answers your question, George. Everything is energy, everything is vibration. And to some extent, we're like these little instruments playing different tunes through our emotions and through the energies that we are storing in our energy fields. But becoming conscious, awake, aware, enlightened means you are operating from the higher octave of the emotions that we tend to put out, like love instead of hate, instead of fear. And that you know how to you're consciously running your life and managing your energy so that you're not operating unconsciously from those lower vibration emotions. All right. So we were talking tonight about life purpose. We mentioned that there are different ways of looking at life purpose. One is that we all have something unique that we're here to do and here to give. Another being that in every moment that exists, we can find purpose, but also that the common purpose of humanity is to become awakened, is to become enlightened. And we talked before the break about how we're at this tipping point in our experience on this planet right now, moving from unconsciousness to consciousness, more people waking up en masse than ever before. If you look around, you might not believe that because you'll still see a lot of unconscious people, but there is a critical mass. There are more people than there ever have been. And what I was saying before the break is that there's a lot of help for us. And sometimes that seeps into your consciousness through these awakening codes, like you see repeated numbers or you see mirrored numbers. Also, there are energy repositories on the planet that have been dormant, that have now been opened up, and they are starting to feed into the planetary grid. And those energy pulses through the planetary grid are also stimulating our awakening, right? And there are some of them are the ones that were placed here, but more by the Pleiadian beings, are at the places I was listing before we went to the break. Places like Mount Shasta, Glastonbury, Ayers Rock in Australia. There's about 12 pairs of these places, but there's also others left by other star groups. So for example, I have a client who lives in northern BC, and there's a Syrian energy reservoir that the First Nations people there have been guarding for thousands of years, that now they're getting signs that it's time for this one to open as well. And they're all there to help move us from our 3D consciousness level into a multi-dimensional consciousness level. And as we wake up into a multi-dimensional consciousness level, we are changing. Our physiology is changing. Our DNA is changing. And you only have to look at somebody who meditates to get evidence of that. They've done a lot of scientific studies on the brains of people who meditate, and the brains of people who meditate physiologically change. It's the scientific proof of that. Different parts of the brain grow, expand, become bigger. And you know, that's just what scientists are picking up on. But there's also subtle shifts that are happening. And one of those is, well, let's talk about the brain. You've probably heard scientists say, well, we only use 10% of the capacity of our brain. The truth is we only have a low level of consciousness that can be carried within this brain computer. But as our consciousness increases, then there's more consciousness coming through. And so that's part of the adjustment in the physiology. But also we have not only implanted in the planet, but within our own DNA, information that helps us move from the current level of consciousness into a higher level of consciousness. All right, so and then start writing your questions, by the way, folks, or your comments, questions about life purpose or awakening codes or particular things that have been going on for you. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I mean, maybe there's one other thing, which is part of the awakening process is to start to use your free will. We live in this world of duality where everything has an opposite. The net effect of that is that therefore we have choices. We can choose this or that. And in an unconscious state, a person might believe that in fate, life is something that happens to me. In a conscious state, we make conscious choices. We realize that we are the creators of our own reality. As the creators of our own reality, we start to take responsibility for our lives and for our choices. And we also realize if we've created something that is something that we don't prefer, that we can actually change it. And the way that we change it is through managing our energy. All right. So remember the law of attraction. Whatever is stored, back to George's question, whatever is stored within your energy field is like a signal that you are beaming out to the universe, right? So if I'm full of love, then love is reflected back at me. Love is mirrored back at me. If I'm full of fear and hate are reflected back at me. My life experience is one of fear and hate. So when we wake up, the awakening process is that we consciously get to shift our energy so that we consciously get to decide how to navigate through our reality. All right, now I'm going to go back to the question that sparked our subject and just look for the person who asked the question if there's anything specific about her. So she was saying her name's Jill and she was seeing mirrored numbers everywhere. So I'm just going to take a look at that for her. And I'm honestly seeing that it's just what I said it was. I'm seeing that when that happens, you pause, you become present, you become conscious, and you move your energy into a higher vibration because you move into a state of gratitude. You know, you've got this sense that the universe is speaking to me, a higher power is speaking to me, and I am grateful for that. And then your brain is going, but it must mean something. It must mean something. What does it mean? But what it means is you're being given the gift of a moment where you are completely present and in the vibration of gratitude and aware that there is much more to who you are and much more to who we are and much more to life than most of us give credit to when we are running around in our unconsciousness and in our busy lives. Now, I know there was one more question and I noted that down in my notes. So I might go to that. And then please, listeners, send in your questions. If you're on the Facebook group, you just need to, or the YouTube channel, just put it in the comments. If you are listening anywhere else, then you can send them to info@drlesliephillips.com. Okay, so this next question.
I find a lot of people, sorry for interjecting, I find a lot of people that I talk to get confused between enlightenment and awakening. And when they look at enlightenment, they consider enlightenment this thing that they're, the gurus in India, like this, I am, like I am enlightened, like, and it just isn't there. I mean, awakening means so many things. I think it's a very personal thing. Like for me, I feel awakened in a sense because I've come into a reality, or my reality, where I understand a lot more about who I am than I ever have before. And with that understanding comes an acceptance. And with that acceptance comes more understanding, more acceptance, and this circular pattern just keeps going, generating to where I feel calm and relaxed in almost everything I do now, as opposed to completely like the negativity penetrating my life.
Well, and you make a good point, because I think the word enlightenment got this idea of perfectionism attached to it. In truth, we never stop the journey. We're constantly on a journey. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly expanding. There's no ultimate destination that any of us finally reaches and says, now I'm the guru on the mountaintop. The guru on the mountaintop is still learning, is still expanding. But that's why I use the word awakening, because I think it's more approachable. And it's a journey for everyone, you know, and, you know, to look at Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha might seem far away from the everyday person, but they went from being an everyday person to an enlightened master. And, you know, they came here not to set themselves apart from all of us, but to show us the way through their life story that this is everybody's story. Ultimately, this is where we are all, we're all walking our own unique path. Trying to think of another, back to God, source energy, whatever word. So I'm going to go to the questions now, Corey. Should I take a break before I do that?
Well, yeah, I think we'll take a break. We have a couple of questions from Nicole and Kelly.
Yeah, and I have one from Brianna, so that's 3. All
yeah,
right,
so
let's take a break.
We'll come back after the break and go from there.
Yeah, listeners, this is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, talking about life purpose and the mass awakening of humanity and awakening code, triggering us to make this shift.
Such trivial topics.
Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight's show is all about life purpose and the shift from the old earth to the new earth, and the shift from humanity in 3D consciousness to opening up to a multidimensional, more awakened consciousness. And it's now that part of the show where we answer your questions.
Okay, well, let me, I've got a question from Nicole, and she's talking about life purpose again. And she says, do we often have a similar life purpose in past and parallel lives?
That's a really good question. And the answer to that is yes and no. So sometimes from the soul's perspective, there will be multiple lifetimes dedicated to learning about a particular subject. So, for example, let's make up a couple of different things. I have a client who's an artist. She's got loads of past lives as an artist because it is her soul's passion to express itself through art. So through the ages, she's been an artist. And has every life she's ever lived been as an artist? No. But there are many. There are many of them that had a similar purpose. So that's one example. Another example is, let's say the soul is balancing on a polarity, like giving and receiving, right? And there might be some lifetimes that are more giving. You know, I'm a mother of 5 children. I'm a doctor. I'm a nurse. Whatever it is. And then other lifetimes are balancing the opposite polarity. I'm an invalid, or some other reason that means I need to receive from people. So there can be lifetimes that do have a similar purpose, but each lifetime offers a unique perspective. And together, all of those perspectives then create a larger body of information. And now I should just explain to the listeners what a parallel life is. And actually, all lifetimes are parallel from the soul's perspective, because time and space is a human perspective. But what we tend to mean when we say parallel life from our human perspective is 2 bodies alive on the planet at the same time. and they can be very, very different. You know, you could be an old man fighting in a militia in Afghanistan, and a baby in Italy, and a middle-aged woman in North America, um, and experiencing very, very different lifetimes, all within the same time frame on Earth. And so every single life that the soul creates doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have the same, it has the same purpose from the perspective of cultivating consciousness and expanding and growing. But in terms of what is being expressed and focused on, that can be quite different. And probably all of you watching this show, listening to this show, you've had hundreds of lives, if not thousands of lives, and you've probably been every racial group, every religion, male, female, all of it. Okay, so there's a lot of variety and different perspectives that we can experience on this planet. And most of us that have had lots of lifetimes here have experienced many perspectives. So I hope that answers your question, Nicole.
I'm sure it will. It's a good answer, Dr. Leslie. Okay, question from Kelly. I have been working hard to change my career as it feels like it's holding me back and keeps me unconscious, but I have a hard time with clarity of my, she breaks out here a little bit. But I have a hard time with clarity. So she goes into the second part, I think, probably gifts and how to make this change at this point. I think I have a direction, but I'm tired. The journey is too tiring. I worry that I'm burning out, and burning out is working against me, and how to change that.
Okay.
And also, Nicole says thank you. So apparently, Kelly, I'll try to paraphrase that. She's having a problem with her career.
And this is a really common question and a really common experience on the path to awakening. And there are several reasons for that. So look around on the planet, you'll see a lot of the old systems are crumbling, but they haven't crumbled yet. So a lot of the workplaces are low vibration. So you're an individual who is awakening, doing work on yourself, healing yourself. You go into one of these, you expand beyond the workplace. You become comfortable at a higher vibration than the group vibration in the workplace. So I get a lot of people coming to me who they're waking up, they've been doing their work, their energy's vibration is increasing, and then they've got this job and they go into the job and it's like, boom, my vibration has to go down here and it just feels awful and it feels so limiting, and I feel awful when I'm there because you're not in your natural vibration anymore when you're in that environment. So it's like, well, I get out of there, I go home, finally I feel myself again, and then the next day I have to go there. It's really, really, really common for people to outgrow where they're working, to outgrow relationships, and all of that. So I understand what you're saying. The other thing is, right now especially, our bodies are being quite challenged because of the energy shifts that are happening. You know, I mean, if we even go back to the beginning of 2019, that was intense. And there was lots of energy shifts that were super intense. And it's even hard to imagine that it could get more than that. And yet here we are in 2020, and it is even more intense. So we've got this thing going on, like my vibration doesn't match the old vibration, yet most people on the planet, they're still matching the old vibration. And the workplace is, yes, it's crumbling, but it's still in the old vibration. And also, we're being bombarded with these planetary energy shifts, which are they are exhausting for the body. And so, and one of the things that we do is we say, I'm feeling this way, but I shouldn't be feeling this way. You know, I'm feeling burnt out, but I should have more energy. I should be able to, you know, I should be able to. And then we go into resistance to the way we are feeling, and we get ourselves even more stuck. So I think one of the solutions to this is to be kind and compassionate and not push the body, and just accept that I am tired, I am burnt out, and not force the change. To surrender, like we were saying, there's so much help. It's unseen help, but there's so much help. So it's almost like, I mean, one of the things that I think is so common for us is we're all in our own way, because we're trying to control the situation. Yes, I should be changing my job. You know, I should be doing more than I'm doing. But in some senses, there's a bigger repository of information than we consciously know. So in just surrendering and asking for help from your higher self, from your soul, from your guides, to and then just allow yourself to be carried on the flow of that energy, right? And if you're tired, then acknowledge that you're tired, and allow yourself to rest. And you know, if you haven't changed your job yet, learn some energy techniques that help you cope with being in that energy temporarily until you do change it. Let me just quickly look and see if there's anything else to say. What I see when I look at your energy, Kelly, is exactly what I just said, but I'll use a different analogy. What I see is the change that you're asking for and envisioning for yourself is there in a spiritual sense. And it's almost like this magnet, this tractor beam that's pulling you towards it. And so again, I would just say, relax, accept where you are, don't fight where you are, and it's going to unfold, and you're going to find yourself moving in that direction naturally. Okay.
I find people, just as a quick comment, what I was saying earlier about my personal experience is that, you know, I've sort of settled down in life and just enjoying the ride, as opposed to worrying about creating the ride. You know what I mean? Like it's once you let it go, it happens anyway.
Yeah.
And it people think if they release control over where they're going and how fast they're going to get there, they feel that they're going to stall and become stagnant. But that's not true. I found I always thought that. But now I find that in letting go, in releasing the control, I have taken control of my life in that sense. You know, like it's like a little conundrum in itself. But by letting go, you take control, and you can do anything that you want to do can come through that release. However, it will not always look like you thought it would look. I remember somebody tell me once, a seminar leader saying, financial freedom is different for everybody. It looks different for everybody. The number is different for everybody. The concept is different for everybody. And it's true. It's true. But you cannot achieve it until you release it. And then you can make it become real for yourself. And career and personal life purpose is the same as that. Just once you let go, um, it's amazing what happened. Look at the transformation. I think you can see the transformation of where I've gone in the past 10 years. Just I do what I love now. I love what I do, and it hasn't stopped. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really common for people to be at point A and think they should be at point B, and then judge themselves for not being at point B because they're at point A and resisting being at point A. And all
That's
that
right.
does is keep you stuck at point A, because the resistance is energy against the flow.
Yeah.
I do have one more question from Brianna. And she said, when we start to clear and develop our sixth chakra, is it normal to see flashes, shadows, sparkles, and colors? And the short answer to that is yes. And I would also always advocate never to compare your awakening experience to anyone else's. Because if it's happening for you, that's what's happening for you. And your friend might have a different experience. And so I don't like to ever say there's a normal thing that is supposed to be happening in any of these cases. But yeah, you can see flashes, shadows, sparkles, and colors. But I'd be interested, Brianna, in what you're consciously doing to clear and develop your sixth chakra, because um, you know there are specific ways in which you can consciously activate it and direct it so that you are seeing more than just random flashes, shadows, sparkles, and colors. And that's what I teach in my courses, is how to seat your consciousness so you stimulate and activate your sixth chakra, and how to consciously um, work with energy to use your clairvoyance, just like you use your eyes. I can decide, well, I'm going to look over there and look at the window, and then I'm seeing the window. I'm not waiting for the window to flash. You can learn to be consciously in control of your clairvoyance just like you are with your eyes, and that sometimes can take a little bit of training by um, somebody like me, who's already um, spent the time to do that. It could just give you a few tips and speed the process up for you. All right. Is there any more questions, Corey? Or
Yeah, there is one more, but we're quickly running out of time. You've got about a minute and a half.
okay?
So, and this is from Katie. So much gratitude for being a part of this. I love the work I do. I have the privilege of holding space for healing on a one-to-one level. Most recent opportunities keep presenting them for me to teach. I have a lot of energy invested in fear-based beliefs about teaching. Groups, in
Hmm.
quotation, in capitals. I keep getting on my own way. I'm confused in my resistance. Is fear or intuitive? Not what I am. What I am I to do? What am I to do? Perhaps surrender?
Yes, it looks like it is your stuff. You know, it's your projection of the scary things that might happen. But I'm seeing it's all in your energy field, and so surrender, non-resistance, and even actively do some work on releasing the fear. And it all looks really based on past time energy and past time programming. So you might want to look at your childhood or when you were at school being criticized, or you know, when you stood out from the crowd and those kind of things. But I'm seeing it's in your energy field, and it looks like whenever you think or approach the idea of talking, I'm seeing that there's people who would love to learn things from you, but you're projecting a wall in the way. I have to stop. I'd love to give a longer answer, but I have to stop. So that's tonight's show, folks. And thank you so much for tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And we're here every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time on 101.7 FM and the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, and also on YouTube.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.